Hello, friends. I am the Eternal One, your God, who brought you out of Egypt from a place of slavery. Recognize it? Anyone? Well, those words, my friends, are the first commandment of the 10 Commandments. Well, wait a second, many of our Christian friends are saying. I know my 10 Commandments, and the first commandment is, you shall have no other gods before me. And you would be right. For most Christians, that is the first commandment. Not for Jews. I am the Eternal One, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt from a place of slavery. Exodus chapter 20, verse 1. Isn't it amazing? If there was anything we all thought we could agree upon, surely it's the 10 Commandments. Often regarded as the moral foundation of the Jewish and Christian faiths, and their substance also important to Islam. You think we could agree on what they are? I mean, they're written down, right? Well, there are at least a half dozen different formulations of what the 10 Commandments really are. There are 2 different versions in the Torah itself, one in Exodus and one in Deuteronomy. They're not exactly the same. There's a Catholic version, generally followed by the Lutherans, which is quite different than the Anglican, Reformed, and other Christians, which is very different than our Jewish 10 Commandments. We have this text, and every English version of it today is a translation from the original Hebrew. And that, my friends, is very important to remember because every translation is by definition a commentary, a different version than the original. Also, there is the agreement, or lack of, on order. For all the other traditions, the verse I began with, I am the Eternal One, your God, who brought you out of Egypt from a place of slavery, is part of the preface to the 10 Commandments. For our Jewish tradition, it is the first commandment. So what's the problem with this as a commandment? Listen carefully. I'll say it again. I am the Eternal One, your God, who brought you out of Egypt from a place of slavery. What is the commandment in this commandment? There isn't one. One other little aside. In the Jewish tradition, up until recently, we never called these the 10 Commandments because they are not all commandments, as just demonstrated. These are called, in our tradition, the Aseret HaDibrot. Aseret means 10, and we agree on 10, but Dibrot cannot be translated as commandments. We have a word in Hebrew for commandment. You know it. It's mitzvah. Dibrot means that which is spoken. In this case, divinely spoken, the very essential 10 spoken things. The divine animating principle pervading the universe. This week, we encounter the very essential 10 spoken things in our Torah portion. At this moment of American history, I can think of no better time to address the first, most essential spoken thing, the ground of being for all the other versions of the 10 Commandments. I am the Eternal One, your God, who brought you out of Egypt from a place of slavery. Another little translational note. While Egypt, the land we were brought out of, is one of the definitions of the Hebrew word Mitzrayim, the literal translation of the word is narrow or constricted places. The places we find ourselves trapped, caught in someone else's idea of truth. Narrow-minded places where we are enslaved physically or metaphorically, and silenced for being who we are. God, breath of all life, mystery at the heart of reality, self-identifies as the source of liberation, as the power in the universe that allows, permits, demands that we free ourselves from narrow-minded and constricted places. Liberation is transformation. Transformation involves discovering our most authentic selves. Authenticity. Not living a fraudulent life, or having the courage to be who you most truly are. For coming out of that narrow place called Egypt to reveal our most authentic self. Our ancestors were slaves in Egypt. Our ancestors chose to remember their experience as slaves as the ultimate outsider, the other. To remember that whenever anyone feels themselves to be the other, different, marginalized, oppressed in any way because they are perceived to be different, we who honor and hold dear these 10 most important spiritual directives, we have a responsibility to remember, to identify with you, to honor you, to love you. You are us. Thank God for differences. Thank God for the inherent diversity that is part of the majesty of all creation. Dear God, breath of all life, witness our ability to welcome all who are different. Take care. Stay safe and be well. Shalom uvracha. Peace and blessings.